Hey everyone, it's your buddy back again with another exciting fanfic, which is What If Naruto Was Jiraiya's Apprentice from the Start, Part 3. If you enjoy this story, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more fanfics like this. Now, let's dive right into the fanfic. Feelings. Naruto regained consciousness but still felt to saw to open his eyes. Well, if I am hurting, that at least means I am alive, Naruto thought as he stretched his thoughts out from the most troubling question of his mortality. I am on a bed and I don't seem to have any tubes or needles in me, or at least I can't feel them, so I don't think I am in hospital. Yes, when number 2, I hate hospitals. Naruto then realized a weight on his chest and he heard a content purring. What do I have, a cat sitting on me or something? Wait, cat Yugi-chan. Naruto mentally screamed, his eyes finally opening in shock. Looking down, Naruto saw Yugito curled up against him using his chest as a pillow. Her usually neat hair she always kept in a tight ponytail looked wild as it cascaded down her back, finally free of its restrictions. Wow, she looks even better when her hair is let down. I wonder why she doesn't leave it like that. Well, it is long, maybe it gets in the way when she's fighting, Naruto mused while tossing up if he should wake her or not. Deciding against it, he closed his eyes and drifted off to sleep, subconsciously wrapping an arm around his fellow blonde as she snuggled closer into his embrace, letting out another purr. The pair slept for a couple of hours before the sounds of giggles caused them both to stir. Opening their eyes at the same time, they both immediately blushed crimson at the compromising position they were in. A click was heard and both teens turned their heads only to be greeted by the flash of a camera. Ah, isn't this adorable? Tsunade said with a sly smile, knowing she had caught them in a very embarrassing moment for the pair, who quickly separated at the sight of the occupants of the room. Ba-chan, what are you Shizune and Erosenin doing here? Naruto asked, a look of shock and horror on his face, thinking about the picture they just took and what they might do with it. We just came to check on you to see if you had woken up, and you looked too cute to disturb, so we thought a picture would be a good way to remember it. Unfortunately, this old pervert couldn't keep his mind clean enough to stop from giggling and waking you before we could get more than the few we got, Tsunade said casually. Wait, so there is more of them? Naruto said, not wanting to believe that Tsunade and Jiraiya had more than one of the compromising photos. Well, it wasn't difficult to get them when Miss Nee here refused to leave your side until you woke up, Jiraiya said with a small grin on his face. Yugito had just been getting redder and redder in the face as this went on and now resembled a tomato that had wavy long blonde hair. She couldn't take it anymore and had to leave before it got any more embarrassing. Well, Tsunade-sama, I think I will leave now, and with that she left the room, getting small chuckles from the three older ninja. Naruto, though, was confused and a little worried. What's wrong with Yugi-chan? She left really quickly. Oh no, maybe she is mad at me because of how we woke up. I need to find her later and apologize. I just hope that she is not too mad, he thought before realizing Shizune was talking to him. Oh, I am sorry Shizune, what did you say? I wasn't listening, Naruto admitted guiltily. I was asking how you were feeling and if you could move around easily. It's just we have to start making our way back to Konoha, the dark-haired woman said happily, truly glad she would be able to go home again after spending so long with Tsunade on the move. Oh yeah, I feel great, Naruto said before registering the full comment. Wait, you mean you're coming back and Tsunade-bachan is going to be Hokage? Naruto asked, a small smile stretching onto his face. Yes, that right Gaki, I am your new boss, so you better start showing me respect, Tsunade mock threatened. Whatever Ba-chan, if Gigi couldn't get me to call him Hokage-sama, you don't stand a chance. You are nothing compared to him. In fact, I don't want you as Hokage anymore. I don't accept it, Naruto yelled, knowing it would rile the elderly woman up. You wanna take this outside again, you little shit, Tsunade said, glaring at the boy. You know it, you old bat, Naruto said, putting his jacket on before heading out, being followed by the angry Tsunade, leaving the other two just staring at each other before shaking their heads and following the two short-tempered blondes. Once more Tsunade readied her single finger that she would use to clobber the small genin. Naruto rushed forward, fist pulled back for a punch that Tsunade easily ducked. Sliding her hand up, she easily knocked off Naruto's head before stopping Naruto dead. Tsunade had leant down and kissed the now exposed forehead of the blonde before standing back up and looking upon him with a motherly smile. You know, I am really glad you won my necklace, the slug Sanin said, the smile never leaving her face. Thanks Ba-chan, that means a lot, Naruto said honestly, ignoring the minor look annoyance on Tsunade's face at once again being called old by the boy who had wormed his way into her heart as a younger brother or even as a son. With Yugito. Yugito was sitting in a tree overlooking the area Naruto had trained to master the Rasengan, trying to calm down. Why did I have to get onto the bed with him? I just saw him lying there so peaceful and I wanted to be next to him, and then I go and put my head on his chest so I can hear his heat beat and it puts me to sleep. Oh, he must think I'm some weird stalker, Yugito cried internally. Well, I am just annoyed about the interruption when you both finally woke up. That was the perfect chance to take him and make him forget about ever being injured by that snake, Nibby moaned. Nibby, shut up. What if he is angry at me because what I did? I mean, I was basically dry humping his leg. I took advantage of the fact he was out cold just to feel closer to him, Yugito replied as a tear fell from her eyes at the thought of the nicest person she had ever met and the boy she was falling for, hating her because she couldn't keep off him while he was unconscious. Yugito was so caught up in her conversation with Nibby she didn't notice Naruto was walking into the clearing, obviously looking for something. Naruto saw Yugito in the tree and made his way over so he could talk to her, but then he realized she was crying. He slowed down and dropped his head in shame for making the young woman cry. Hey Yugi-chan, Naruto said downbeat, knowing she was upset but kept the affectionate nickname. The female blonde's face shot up, shock evident in her slitted eyes at the sight of her fellow Jinchuriki as she didn't see him arrive. Naruto-kun, what are you doing here? She stuttered out. Oh, sorry Yugi-chan, I didn't mean to scare you. I just wanted to apologize for this morning. I must have wrapped my arm around you when I went back to sleep after waking up. I am sorry, I just didn't want to wake you. You looked so beautiful purring in your sleep. I couldn't bring myself to wake you up and I must have curled up in my sleep. I hope you're not too mad, Naruto said with a sheepish grin on his face. Yugito couldn't hold back the tears anymore as they began to flow and she wailed as she latched onto Naruto's jacket, burying her face into his chest. Needless to say, Naruto was confused. She didn't seem angry or even upset with him as she had grabbed him for comfort. Yugi-chan, what's wrong? Please, I want to help. You can tell me anything because you are a precious person to me, Naruto said, wrapping his arms around her waist and bringing her closer to him. He began to rub her back in an attempt to soothe the wailing kunoichi. Yugito just continued to cry, but with every word Naruto spoke to his fellow blonde, her heart leapt out of her chest. He doesn't hate me, he's comforting me. And he even said that I was a precious person to him. Damn it, I am so happy I can't stop crying. I need to tell him I am alright, but how should I do it? She thought as her tears continued to fall. Kiss him, Nibby said in a serious tone. There was no hint of teasing in it at all. What? But I can't just do that, Yugito thought back. Yes, you can now. If you really think you love him, then show him, Nibby demanded. Naruto held Yugito as her tears turned into sobs, her head still resting on his chest as she turned it to look into his azure blue eyes. Yugi-chan, please tell me you're alright now. It breaks my heart to see you cry like that, Naruto asked as he stared lovingly into Yugito's sky blue slitted orbs. Naruto waited for her to speak, but when she didn't, he went to say something again but was cut off when her hand came up and stroked his cheek as he closed his eyes. Oh Kami, that feels amazing, but why is she acting so weird and why won't she tell me what's wrong? Oh damn you Erosen, I wish just once you would give me a lesson on girls that wasn't about what positions they like or how to tell what cup size they are. But Naruto was brought out of his internal ponderings when he felt a soft moist pressure pressed against his lips. Opening his eyes, Naruto was shocked to see Yugito's lips pressed against his. Quickly coming out of his stunned state, he eagerly but lightly returned the kiss, and a small moan and a purr escaped as they continued their ministrations. Yugito felt like she'd die happy when Naruto had returned her kiss. It may have been a soft light kiss, but it lasted for what felt like hours and was filled with so much love and longing that tears threatened to escape her eyes once again. When the pair eventually separated for air, Yugito leaned back into the Genin's ear. I really like you, Naruto-kun. You are the first person who has accepted me for who I am, and you have shown me more affection in a week than I have received my whole life. I don't like it when you're not around anymore. That's why I got into your bed while you were unconscious. I just wanted to be closer to you. When we woke up like that, I thought you would be mad at me for what I did, so I left as soon as I had the chance. She was stopped here by Naruto pulling back and giving her another kiss just as intense as the first. Yugi-chan, when I woke up I thought how lucky I was to be able to wake up and see an angle. I could never be mad at waking up next to the most beautiful girl I have ever seen, and just so you know, I really like you as well, you are one of my most precious people, Naruto whispered after they once again pulled back from the kiss. They sat and talked after that, Yugito explaining that she was crying because she was so happy that he wasn't mad and considered her precious to him until Naruto remembered the other reason he came to find his fellow blonde. Oh yeah, Yugi-chan, I forgot to tell you, we are heading back to Konoha later today because Tsunade Bachan is going to be the new Hokage and you are allowed to come with us under the protection of the Sannin, so you don't have to wait for her to be summoned in as Hokage for you to go there, but you will still have to wait till she is official Hokage before she can make any decisions on whatever treaty or agreement the Raikage is offering. Anyway, it means you get to come back to Konoha with us and I can introduce you to all my friends that I have been able to make, Naruto said, eager to both get back to Konoha and spend more time with the Kumo Kunoichi. Really, that's great, come on, let's go get my stuff from my hotel room, and with that the pair ran back to the town. Just outside Konoha several days later. During the days since Naruto and Yugito's encounter in his training ground, the pair had become inseparable. The only time they weren't together during the days were when Jiraiya would take Naruto to spar, and even then the Toad Sage would often ask the young Kunoichi to join them, with the elderly man stating that he wanted her to help him with teamwork. In truth, Jiraiya had been curious as to how they worked as a team since he saw them perform a flawless collaboration jutsu first time in perfect sync. The two young blondes were currently talking to Shizune about what it was like growing up with Tsunade away from the village since she was 10. The young couple walked hand in hand, occasionally glancing at each other from the sides of their eyes. Naruto had come to see Shizune as a big sister, caring and gentle unless you mentioned anything to do with bacon and Taunton, her pet pig. Remind you of Minato and Kushina after he saved her back when they were just little gakis, don't they? Tsunade said to Jiraiya, walking behind the other three just out of hearing range. Yeah, they sure do, even their teamwork, they flow together like they're one person. It's such a shame for them both, they're from separate villages, but there are always ways around that. If this treaty to combat the Akatsuki works, we could even get an alliance out of this, and then we have a ready-made political marriage, the Toad Sage said, for once not going to his notepad, highlighting how serious he was. The group walked for a few more minutes before the gates of Konoha could be seen easily. Upon arriving, Naruto saw the two Chunin who were in henge to weed out the people who couldn't see past genjutsu in the Chunin exams. Azumo and Katetsu were having their usual day, cursed by whatever ungodly force handed them the job of yet another rotation on gate guard duty. They had just been dazing off to sleep when they saw a familiar tuft of blonde spiky hair. Hey Naruto, where have you been this job sook without your pranks to keep us entertained watching the other Chunin try and catch you? The only thing that made us glad we had gate duty was the fact we didn't have to try and catch you, Azumo said, causing a giggle from Yugito, who had gone unnoticed until this point. Excuse me, miss, Katetsu said, getting her attention. Oh, it's Ni Yugito, she said formally. Well, Miss Ni, I am afraid you can't enter the village at this time because we don't have a Hokage at the moment, and you being here could cause problems, Azumo said, subtly taking in the fact she was holding Naruto's hand and they had interlocked fingers. Lucky bastard, she is so hot, he thought. Yeah, that won't be a problem. Me and Ero-Sennin brought Tsunade Bachan back to the village to be the next Hokage, and Yugi-chan here is under their protection, Naruto said, indicating the two Sannin casually walking over to the gate guards. Azumo and Katetsu could only dumbly nod, allowing them all to pass. I am never going to complain about this job again if I get to see shit like that. Boy, that Naruto must have balls made out of some unbreakable alloy to be able to call one of the Sannin Ganma and the other a perv. I would never dream of it, both the gate guards thought as they slowly picked their jaws off the ground. With Naruto and Yugito walked hand in hand down the street, ignoring the glares of some of the civilians. Others had warmed to the boy after word spread that he saved a fellow leaf ninja's life in the Forest of Death by holding off Orochimaru, and his actions during the invasion, defeating Shukaku and saving most likely hundreds of lives that could have been lost had Gaara gotten to his target. Yugito saw the glares and was angry. Even if she was used to receiving the same treatment at Kumo, she knew Naruto and he didn't deserve it. Come on Yugi-chan, let's go. This is the time of the week all the rookies who are not on missions meet up at this awesome barbecue place. They don't serve ramen or sushi, but the food's still good. Do you want to go? I would love for you to meet some of my friends, the spiky-haired blonde asked. Alright, lead the way, Yugito replied, apprehensively unsure of what they would think of her being from Kumo, but relaxed when Naruto smiled warmly at her and began to lightly lead her in the direction of Choji's favorite eating place. At the barbecue restaurant, All the rookies sat as they prepared to order, but there were some key people missing. Naruto and Team 7 had yet to arrive. Hey, do you guys know where Naruto, Sakura, Sasuke and Sai are? I thought all out-of-village missions were cancelled for Genin until we got a new Hokage, Kiba said. Well, Sasuke-kun is in the hospital. I tried to ask what was wrong, but they just said they were unsure, some kind of psychological attack or something like that. Naturally, Forehead hasn't left his side, saying he would want her there when he woke up. Sai, well, the thing I heard was he quit Team 7 for another team, but I haven't seen him around since then. And Naruto, who knows what he and Jiraiya-sama get up to? He's probably not even in the village. I haven't seen him in 3 weeks, not since the funeral, Ino said, going through her latest gossip on the missing members of their group. She didn't see the 2 new arrivals, although many of the others did. Naruto walked into the restaurant and began walking to the usual group of tables used for their little meetings. Upon arriving, Naruto saw the reactions to his and Yugito's arrival, and while some were understandable, others were confusing or just typical. Shikamaru just muttered, "Oh great, another troublesome blonde," before placing his head back onto the table. Choji didn't seem to care, as he was eagerly awaiting the food to cook. Ino had her back turned and hadn't seen them yet. Shino was, well, he was Shino. Kiba had a look of lust in his eyes, checking out the woman Naruto had brought in and was currently thinking up ways to impress her. Hinata looked almost broken and defeated, and Naruto didn't understand why he had thought she was getting over her lack of confidence. Yugito, on the other hand, took one look at the Hyuga heiress's expression and knew what it was. She likes him, but judging by her timid attitude, she has not told him or even had a real conversation with him. Maybe I should try to talk to her. I feel bad seeing her like that when her feelings for Naruto-kun are obviously genuine, but I am not going to give him up. He's all mine and I don't like sharing, she thought. Not even with me, Nibi teased. Nibi, how would you be able to be with Naruto-kun? First of all, you're stuck inside a seal on my stomach, and secondly, you are a 20-foot tall demon cat with no gender. You're a mass of condensed chakra, she thought in reply. We would find a way, Nibi huffed. Naruto was shaken from the sad Hyuga when he saw Neji. Neji was glaring at Yugito with nothing but pure hate in his eyes. Naruto could understand Neji feeling this way towards Kumo, them being responsible for the death of his father, but Yugito had nothing to do with that, and he made a mental note to talk to Neji. And soon, moving on, Naruto saw that Lee was his usual self despite being in crutches. Since the preliminaries, nothing could keep him from trying, causing Naruto to take another mental note to ask Tsunade to look at his injury, although he was sure that Guy would already be at her desk begging her, even though she had only just arrived a few hours ago. Tenten stared at the Kumo Kunoichi with what appeared to be interest and a hint of jealousy displayed towards the well-developed and shapely Yugito. Ino then turned around to see what everyone was staring at, and her mouth hit the ground. This Kunoichi had the exact type of look she was going for and had pulled it off even better than she had imagined. Granted, she was 1, maybe 2 years older than Ino. She couldn't help but be extremely envious of the curves and ample bust of her fellow blonde, and the slitted eyes added a wild side she could never achieve. Hey Naruto, who is the hottie? Kiba leered with almost drooling eyes back in their sockets. Dog breath. Naruto snapped, immediately becoming defensive and possessive of his companion. Not that she minded, in fact she loved the fact he wanted her for himself. Guys, this is Yugito ni. She is from Kumo and came here with Erosenin, Tsunade Bachan, and Shizune Nichan to organize some sort of agreement for cooperation between our villages. She is also a good friend of mine, Naruto said, causing a light blush to appear on the cheeks of both Naruto and Yugito that went unnoticed by all except Hinata and Shikamaru. Hey, Konoha will never work with Kumo. She is wasting her time. You should go back where you belong, Neji sneered. Neji, that's enough. She hasn't done anything wrong, Tenten said. I'm sorry, Yugito-san, my teammate is a bit bitter towards Kumo ninja. It's quite alright, I understand perfectly. As a Hyuga, Neji-san was it. Has a perfectly justifiable reason not to trust of like me, and please no formalities, just Yugito is fine, the female Jinchuriki replied. You don't understand anything, you filth. Konoha would never do anything like what Kumo does to get what it wants, Neji spat. Suddenly the temperature around the table dropped and Naruto stared, glaring at Neji, his blue eyes gone, replaced by red with slitted pupils. The killing intent he was giving off was shaking all the genin. You don't know anything, Neji. I thought you learned not to judge people when I beat you in the Chunin exams, but I guess I was a fool. Konoha has used underhanded means in the past, Gigi once told me about. His old rival who ran his own section of Anbu called Root, but he ordered the program to be disbanded after he found he had used them to target civilians during the Second Great Shinobi War in order to kidnap children so he could turn them into weapons, but he told me he always suspected he still ran the program in secret, so don't go saying Konoha is innocent. We are ninja, and even though I don't like it, these things happen. Just because Yugi-chan came from a village doesn't mean the village's sins are hers. That thinking is what causes wars. Naruto spat out, furious at the attack on what he hoped would be his future girlfriend. Come on Yugi-chan, I am not hungry anymore, he finished and turned to leave. Wait, Neji called. Yes, Naruto responded, turning to look passively at the normally calm Hyuga. I'm sorry, please forgive me Yugito-san, I let my prejudice get the best of me, please forgive my rudeness and stay for our lunch, Neji said with a bow, receiving a nod from Yugito and squeezing Naruto's hand to show she was okay. The couple returned to the table and began to chat happily with the other rookies. Most were still having thoughts about Naruto's outburst. He was usually so carefree and relaxed unless he was in a fight, but he blew up to defend his friends, something they all knew he would do regardless of who threatened them. Naruto would always protect his precious people. The group chatted quietly amongst themselves, and Yugito subtly made her way over to talk to the blue-haired heiress with confidence issues. Hello, your name is Hinata? Yes. Look, I know it's not much, but I am sorry, the blonde said. What are you sorry for? You haven't done anything to me. I hold no grudges against you or Kumo for what happened to me all those years ago, Hinata said. Whilst I am happy to hear you hold no ill will against me for that, I did not apologize for that. I came to say sorry because you obviously have feelings for Naruto-kun, Yugito stated bluntly, causing Hinata to go red and splutter. I'm saying sorry because I like him a lot and I will not let you or anyone else have him. Not when I just got him, but I also feel bad because you genuinely care for him, and I am glad that there are people like you who can see what a great person he is despite what he has gone through, and I would very much like us to be friends, Yugito finished with a warm smile, receiving the same from the shy Hyuga. I too would like to be your friend Yugito-san, but know that I will not give up on him, but I also will not get in your way. I am just glad to see Naruto-kun happy, Hinata said. After the group finished eating, Kiba tried once more to get the attention of Yugito but failed miserably. Hey Kiba, don't take it too personally, but she's more of a cat person, Naruto said as they left the restaurant, causing Yugito to giggle, knowing he meant that in a literal sense. So Naruto-kun, what are we going to do now? I should really get to the hotel and drop off my stuff. I know you sealed it in these weightless ceiling scrolls, but still the longer I carry them the more chance I have of losing them, don't you think? Yeah, you're right, I'll walk you there. How about we meet up for dinner tonight? But I gotta have an early night. Erosenin wants me at training ground 7 early in the morning. Something about helping my wind manipulation. I also want to go check on a Tem who tried to bite off more than he can chew and ended up in hospital over the next few days, but we can still do stuff when I am not working. And with that, the couple walked slowly towards the diplomatic hotel, Naruto talking about his friends and what they're usually like when she isn't around. Naruto arrived at training ground 7 to see Jiraiya standing next to a tall Anbu in a bird mask. Curious as to why he was here, Naruto wasted little time heading over to find out. Oh good Naruto, you're here. Like I told you yesterday before you ran off with your little girlfriend, I have found a way to help you with your cutting the waterfall exercise, Jiraiya informed Blonde, who began to look excited at finally being able to complete wind manipulation, but then he looked around confused. That's great and all, Erosenin, but shouldn't we be at our usual training ground for this? I mean, there isn't a waterfall anywhere around here, it's only an open field, Naruto said. Well yes, but this is where Sparrow here comes in. He has an unnaturally high affinity for both Doden and Sweden, and he is going to create you a large enough waterfall so you can train with your clones effectively, Jiraiya said as a large cliff rose up in the center of the training ground before water cascaded down the sides, producing the largest waterfall Naruto had ever seen. But what intrigued Naruto was the wooden pillars that created the platform for him to do the training, but he quickly shrugged it off. Wow, that is amazing. I hope I can do awesome stuff like that once I finish with my training, Naruto said, jumping up onto the platform and creating hundreds of shadow clones. Okay guys, time to get to work. And with that they started pushing their chakra into the waterfall in an attempt to stop the flow of the water. Meanwhile, Yugito was standing in front of Tsunade's desk waiting to hear what she thought on the proposal to deal with the Akatsuki. These are quite fair. Free movement within borders but no entrance into the other village unless escorted at all times or personally cleared by the cage. All information gathered that deals with the Akatsuki is shared between villages, and should there be an emergency and aid is required, one team will be sent as aid. This treaty will last until the threat of the Akatsuki are no longer operational. Yes, this is quite reasonable. I agree to all terms, but I would like to propose adding Suna to the agreement. They have just signed a new treaty with us and paid compensation to the village after the attack as they were manipulated by Orochimaru. Yugito nodded, not seeing a reason why the Raikage would disagree, but was slightly upset that it wasn't a more permanent agreement, but was not going to complain. She just hoped she would still be able to see Naruto when they lived so far apart. Well, Yugito-san, this just has to go through the council so they know what is going on, then I can give you a formal reply to deliver to Raikage Dono. You can probably leave in a week, Tsunade said, taking note of the younger blonde's crestfallen expression. Hi Hokage-sama, I will gladly deliver the message, Yugito said in an attempt to hide her disappointment she would be leaving so soon. No need to look so down, Yugito-san. I am going to make a request that you become the official envoy between the two villages, so we will be seeing a lot of each other, or should I say you will be seeing a lot of a certain spiky-haired Gaki, Tsunade said, smirking when she saw Yugito's face change from depressed to overjoyed. Thank you Hokage-sama, the younger blonde said before rushing over and hugging the Hokage before realizing what she was doing. Oh Kami, I'm sorry Tsunade-sama, please forgive me, she begged after jumping back from the legendary medic. It's fine now, if you would. I have paperwork to finish and I am sure there are some people you want to talk to about the new treaty and your new requested role between our villages, Tsunade said and smiled as Yugito happily ran from the room to find Naruto. Looking on at the stack of papers before her, she let out a depressed sigh. Why did nobody tell me about the paperwork? At least now I can see why the other Hokages were so ready to kill themselves. The slug Sanin whined as she removed a bottle of sake from the hidden compartment in the desk that used to hold the professor's library of Ika Ika, which she happily burned in front of a crying Kakashi who had offered to take them off her hands. Yugito had left the Hokage Tower and had made her way over to Training Ground 7 where Naruto said he would be training, and when she arrived she went wide-eyed at hundreds of blondes trying to separate a waterfall with wind chakra. Sweet Kami, look at that kitten, don't you just want to go over there and ravish him, Nibi said. Yeah, he sure looks goo. Hey wait, Nibi. Can't you ever leave me alone about Naruto-kun? He's training at the moment, so I will just go wait with Jiraiya-sama and that Anbu until he is finished, Yugito thought, fuming. Nibi once again caught her with her perverted teasing. Ah Yugito, how was your meeting with Tsunade? Jiraiya asked upon realizing the adjutant to the clearing. Good, she agreed to the treaty and only had a few things she wished to add, Yugito replied. Well, that went smoothly. I guess you will be leaving soon then, the Toad Sage said. Yes, but Tsunade has recommended me as the liaison between the two villages, so hopefully I will be back every few months, Yugito said as Naruto came close to cutting the waterfall but ultimately failing, causing a frustrated cry to erupt from all the blondes. Well, the Gaki will be happy. He should have this finished soon. Only a couple more hours at most. All those chakra control exercises he did really helped him out, and these clones are turning a process that sometimes takes years to master into a simple task that can be completed in a day. It's amazing, Jiraiya said, looking on at his pupil in awe. It was an hour and a half later that Naruto did indeed cut the waterfall, causing a most unique sight of over 1,000 identical blonde ninja jumping up and down in celebration in perfect time with each other before they slowly began to disperse in clouds of smoke. Well done Gaki, Jiraiya said. That was a most impressive effort to master such a complex task in only 6 hours, Naruto-san, the bird-masked Anbu said. That was amazing Naruto-kun, Yugito said before racing over to him and handing him a towel to dry off. Thanks Yugi-chan, that was hard work. Even if I did get the hang of it quickly, I feel spent, Naruto panted after finally coming down from the excitement of completing his wind manipulation training. Well, you did just do about 2 years worth of training without a rest. Honestly, I don't know how you do it. Well, come on, I'll let you buy me lunch so I can tell you about my meeting with Tsunade-sama I just had, Yugito said with a smirk, knowing he was too tired to argue about paying. 1 hour later at Ichiraku's, Naruto and Yugito were sitting talking about the proposed temporary alliance and how often they thought it would be that they would get to see each other when an Anbu dropped came in. Uzumaki-san, you are required to go immediately to the Hokage's office, and Tsunade-sama said that you can bring your little girlfriend along if you wish, the Anbu said in a business-like tone before vanishing, leaving Naruto and Yugito to blush. "So Naruto-kun, you have a girlfriend now, do you?" Ayame teased while cleaning some bowls. "Well, I guess so. We haven't exactly talked about it, have we, Yugi-chan? So what do you want to be my girlfriend?" Naruto asked tentatively. Yugito beamed at him. "Oh, I don't know, Naruto, that's a hard question," she said as she began to smirk. "Oh, is it now?" Naruto said, seeing her smirk, and decided to play along. "Maybe you just are not ready to be with someone as awesome as me," Naruto boasted, causing Ayame and Yugito to giggle. "Well, that sure sounds like a challenge to me, and if that's not difficult enough, I am sure putting up with your boasting will be." She smirked and leaned across to lightly kiss his cheek. "I would love to be your girlfriend, Naruto-kun," Yugito whispered as she pulled back from the kiss. "Thank you, Yugi-chan, and I would love to have you as my girlfriend. We better get going over to the Hokage Tower before Ba-chan blows her fuse. I have seen what she does to Erosenin when she's angry, and I don't want to be on the receiving end of that," Naruto said, shivering at the thought of the beatings Tsunade gives Jiraiya when she catches him being perverted. Naruto paid for their meal and the new couple headed to go see the new Hokage. Upon entering the room, Naruto noticed that both Jiraiya, Asuma were standing next to where Tsunade sat, and Shikamaru was there as well, standing before them. "Ah, Naruto, you're here now, we can get to it. Now I have gone over the recommendations and votes cast in the Chunin exams, and you both were highly recommended, Shikamaru Nara, for well thought out strategy and excellent planning, as well as the ability to judge the level of both yourself and your opponent while having more than solid understanding of your clan's jutsus. I hereby promote you to the level of Chunin," Tsunade said, causing Asuma to grin widely, proud of the lazy genius he calls a student. "Man, this is just too troublesome to be promoted like that. Now I am going to have to do more work," Shikamaru mumbled under his breath as he walked up and collected his new vest and receiving a pat on the back from Asuma. "Now, Naruto Uzumaki, you performed well above the standard of a genin, producing a well thought out plan and applying it without difficulty, and when you were shocked with new information, you were quick to realize your plan wouldn't work and acted accordingly. You also displayed the use of the Kujibushin no Jutsu and were able to use the shadow clones in combat at near master levels. You also won your match with the use of a high-ranked ninjutsu. This proves that you are well above genin level, so I am proud to give you this vest and promote you to the level of Chunin," Tsunade finished as Naruto was ready to jump out of his skin. He was that excited. "I'm a Chunin, that's amazing, now I get to go on better missions," Naruto yelled, immediately putting on his jacket. "Hey, congrats Gaki, you're a Chunin, but don't get too excited, still a long way to go before you can be Hokage," Jiraiya said with a smile. "Thanks Erosenin, you should take us out to celebrate, you are my sensei after all," Naruto suggested. "What with the way you two eat, I don't think so. Go on, run along, no training this afternoon, you can have it off to spend with your little girlfriend, just don't do anything I wouldn't do," Jiraiya finished with a perverted chuckle, earning him a trip into the wall from Tsunade. "Perverted sensei," Naruto muttered. "Hey Ba-chan, have you been able to look at Sasuke Tem and Lee at the hospital yet? I am sure Guy-sensei asked you about him." A tick mark appeared on her forehead at being called old, but it quickly disappeared. "Yes, I looked at them. Sasuke should be able to leave in 2 days, and I am performing surgery on Lee tonight, although the chance of success is only about 50-50, but if successful he should be back soon. His body is perfectly healthy, he just needs his spine fixed. Once it is medical ninjutsu will complete the rehab in around a day, then he will be his old self again," Tsunade said. "Oh, and one more thing before you leave, I want you here tomorrow at 8 for your first mission as a Chunin," Tsunade said, holding in the evil cackle that was trying to escape her lips. "This will teach you for calling me Ba-chan and give you a taste of what Chunin life can be like." 8:15 the next day. "Sweet Kami, I am bored," Naruto whined. "Hey, at least you only have one shift," Azumo said, picking up another card from the deck. "Yeah, we have had this damn post for the last 2 years, Kotetsu said, placing his cards on the table. "Straight," he said, and Azumo threw his cards down and handed over some money. "How the hell did you get stuck here for that long?" the blonde asked. "Well, we were hired to protect the first shipment of a new Ika Ika book, and we were kinda ambushed and the books were destroyed," Kotetsu said. "Yeah, the Hokage wasn't happy he didn't get his new edition on time and gave us guard duty 6 shifts a week until he told us otherwise, and I guess he either forgot about ever taking us off our punishment or he was really angry," Azumo finished. "Wow, that's rough. Wonder why bandits wanted to destroy Erosenin's books," Naruto pondered out loud. Hey, it wasn't bandits, it was Kurenai. She hates those books more than anything. Have you seen the way she looks at Kakashi when he reads them? I bet if he wasn't as strong as he was, she would have neutered him by now. Unfortunately, we couldn't prove it was her, Azumo said. The shift went slow, and the only time Naruto had any fun was when Yugito came to bring him some lunch but left saying it was just too boring and she wanted to train. When the shift finally ended, Naruto decided to go to the hospital to see Lee and Sasuke. Lee was already training despite the doctor's objections, and when he saw Naruto had received a Chunin vest, shouted about how they would be eternal rivals just like Guy and Kakashi, and that if he didn't make Jonin before him he would do 200 laps around Konoha on his fingers. Yes, Ba-chan was right about him being his old self again. I just wish she could have made him a new, better, slightly quieter self, Naruto thought as he began heading to Sasuke's room. Hey Sasuke, glad to see you're finally up and about again, Naruto said happily as he walked into the room. Sasuke was sitting up in bed talking to Sakura about what happened with his brother. Sasuke didn't reply, he just had a blank look on his face. Sakura, not knowing what was going on, spoke up. Oh hey Naruto, did you come to check up on Sasuke-kun? I am so glad he woke up. Tsunade-sama is amazing. None of the other doctors had any idea how to fix him, but she came in with her assistant and just like that he awoke. I wish I could do that, Sakura said, sighing. At the end she no longer called Naruto a baka and dead last after seeing him fight Gaara. You know Sakura, Tsunade Bachan might teach you if you ask. From what I have seen you have excellent chakra control and you could make a great field medic, and Erosenin told me Ba-chan always wanted more field medics in the ninja force, Naruto said. Naruto, that's really disrespectful to call Tsunade-sama that, but I think I will ask her. It must be great to learn from someone like her, Sakura said. Naruto went to respond but was cut off by Sasuke, who was now glaring right at the blonde. Dobi, fight me. Yeah, why not? That sounds like fun. We can have a spar in a couple of days when you get back into training, Naruto said, the smile slightly falling from his face at the raven-haired boy's expression. No, you will fight me now on the roof, Sasuke yelled, grabbing his kunai and shuriken holder. This is a hospital, Tem, not a dojo. Now I will fight you in a spar in a few days once you have calmed down. Sakura, I think I better go. You should defiantly go see Ba-chan about becoming a medic though, the blonde said, turning to leave the room. He only made it to the door when a kunai came flying at him. Managing to duck under it, he turned to see it was thrown by Sasuke, now standing on the side of his bed fully dressed in his usual Uchiha shinobi outfit. Okay Tem, that's it, you want to fight, then fine, let's go to the roof, Naruto yelled, angry at the Uchiha's attitude. Naruto, Sasuke-kun, don't do this, Sakura pleaded as the boys left and began heading upstairs. Sorry Sakura, but I need to do this now. Someone needs to put him in his place before his head gets any bigger, Naruto said. HN, said Sasuke, ever the conversationalist. When they arrived on the roof, Sasuke headed to the far side before turning around, activating his Sharingan and getting into the traditional Uchiha interceptor stance. What did Erosenin say about the Uchiha taijutsu style? Oh right, that's it, involves being able to predict the attacks of their opponents and use them against you, aided by the Shinjinin's ability to see what moves are coming next, and involves eye contact. Guess it's a good thing I am known for my unpredictability, Naruto thought, sliding into his stance. Sasuke rushed forward with speeds far faster than the average genin and attempted to kick Naruto in the ribs. Naruto easily blocked the punch and attempted a leg sweep, but Sasuke jumped over it and kicked Naruto in the side of the head. However, Naruto was able to duck before jumping back. Damn it is hard to guess his movements without looking him in the eyes. That damn hypnotic effect of the Sharingan really screws with the Toad style. Guess I could use the Goken, but Sasuke knows that style too well after he copied it of Bushy Brows and Kakashi-sensei taught him to use it properly, Naruto thought, narrowly dodging another punch before being kicked to the side behind several sheets. Naruto then jumped up over the sheets using them as cover and went to deliver a axe kick to the Uchiha, but it was a feint. Seeing an opening, Naruto flipped around and delivered a 3-punch combo to Sasuke's chest before pushing him back. Not wanting to give Sasuke any time to recover, Naruto went on to press his advantage, kicking Sasuke to the side before knocking him into the air. Sasuke had finally recovered from Naruto slipping through his guard and was angry. Turning in mid-air, he saw Naruto jump up to kick him back to the ground. Reacting in time, Sasuke repositioned himself and caught Naruto on the side of the chin with a spin kick, grinning gleefully when he crashed into the ground. The smile soon turned to a scowl, then to shock, as the Naruto he had been fighting puffed into smoke. He was a clone. When did he make a clone? Sasuke seethed in his head before he felt a powerful kick hit him in the back. Sasuke coughed up a little blood as he shakily got to his feet. When did you make a clone? The raven-haired ninja demanded. When you kicked me behind the washing on the line. I knew if you would see through any ninjutsu I used, so I waited until you couldn't see me. I have gotta say though, Tem, you're good. I almost had to release my gravity and restriction seals, Naruto said, a small smile on his face. You dare taunt me? I am an Uchiha, an elite. You're nothing but a clanless nobody who wants to be something he's not, Sasuke yelled, finishing some hand signs, and lightning began to form around his hand. Chidori. That's an assassination technique, Tem. Are you really trying to kill me? Naruto said in shock as Sasuke began to run forward. Very well then, I guess I have no choice, he finished as he began to gather chakra in the palm of his hand. Rasengan. The Rasengan was formed and he was about to charge when Kakashi and Jiraiya arrived. Kakashi grabbed Sasuke and threw him into a nearby water tower, but Jiraiya just placed his hand on Naruto's shoulder, causing him to relax and allow his Rasengan to fade away. Sasuke, I am very disappointed in you. When I taught you that jutsu, I did not expect you to attempt to use it on a comrade, Kakashi lectured, receiving only a HN in response. Now go home and calm down, Kakashi ordered, and Sasuke walked off. Sorry Kakashi-sensei, I shouldn't have let him talk me into fighting him, said Naruto. It's okay, I think he is just a bit jealous at how much you have improved. I will talk to him again tomorrow to make sure everything is okay, Kakashi said with an eye smile. Come on Gaki, let's go have a spar. I bet you have some frustration to take out on something, and it may as well be me, said Jiraiya. Several buildings over. So that's the kid Orochimaru-sama wants, is it? Said one of the four people sitting watching the fight between Naruto and Sasuke. Yeah, although I have no idea why he would want some pathetic piece of shit like that Uchiha. He was getting easily beaten by that blonde kid, the red-headed girl of the group said. Who cares why he wants him? Let's just go confront him and get him to come with us, said another. Fine, let's just go grab the fucking piece of shit and leave, the girl said. No to Yuya, we need him to come with us by himself. We just have to show him the power Orochimaru-sama can offer, the final member of the group spoke before they each jumped away. The following morning, Naruto, currently walking to the Hokage office after he had been given a summons by an Anbu. Upon arriving, he found Shikamaru about to enter as well. Hey Shikamaru, you get the summons too? I wonder what Ba-chan wants, Naruto said in greeting. Yeah, I got the message. Sounds like it's going to be troublesome. I heard all the Jonin are out on missions today, so it's probably going to be some mission what will require us to lead. It's just way too troublesome, Shikamaru said as the pair walked up the stairs and arriving at the Hokage's office. Walking in, they saw a very business-like Tsunade sitting behind her desk waiting for them. We don't have much time, so I am going to be quick. Late last night, Sasuke Uchiha left the Hidden Leaf Village. Sakura came to me this morning and told me about Sasuke's desertion. It is believed that he is with a team from Sound and is heading to Orochimaru. I need you to gather several of the genin and retrieve him, Tsunade said. Ba-chan, why genin? This sounds like a job for Jonin and Chunin, not two Chunin and a couple of genin, Naruto said reasonably. I understand that, but all Jonin are currently on or are leaving today on missions, and the majority of the Chunin force are away as well or still helping with the rebuilding, Tsunade said. Well, what about Erosenin? He could probably get them back himself without us, and I know he does not have any missions, Naruto demanded. That is a good idea. Unfortunately, Jiraiya disappeared last night and I have not been able to find him. No reports say he left the village, but he is almost defiantly not in it. He must have been reverse summoned to Myobokuzan. I am sorry, but this is all I can give you. Now your mission is to track down and return Sasuke by whatever means necessary. Now go, you can assemble your own team, Tsunade said, and the boys quickly made their way to the door. So who do we get? You're the smart one after all, Naruto said. Well, we need a tracker. That would have to be Kiba, Naruto nodded in affirmation. Then we need a scout, someone to watch out for attacks. We can't use Shino as he is working with his father improving his bugs, so it is either Neji or Hinata. I would say Neji as he is better in combat, Shikamaru said. Then we need a fighter, someone tough, and that's where these come in, Shikamaru said, taking out a packet of chips and opening them, taking a handful before offering Naruto some. How are chips going to help us? Naruto said, taking a few chips. Oh, you will see, Shikamaru said. Eventually they got down to the last handful, and just as Shikamaru was about to eat the last chip, a large blur flew out of the house they were standing in front of. The last chip in the packet is always the nicest, said Choji, rubbing his belly in delight. Hey Choji, we need you for a mission, Shikamaru said. Okay, I will go get Kiba. You find Neji or Hinata, Naruto said before he ran. Of his mind, however, was on another topic. How the hell did Choji know that was the last chip in the packet? Naruto ran towards the Inuzuka compound to find Kiba, but he luckily found him walking towards a nearby training ground. Hey Kiba, Naruto yelled, vaulting a fence to land next to the dog trainer. Oh hey Naruto man, say where is that hot chick you were with the other night? Kiba said, a small perverted grin on his face. Kiba, this isn't the time for that, I need you for a mission. Sasuke Tem left the village and we think he is heading to Orochimaru, Naruto said, urgently choosing to ignore Kiba's perverted thoughts towards his girlfriend. What I mean, I know he's is, but that is just unforgivable, Kiba yelled. So where are we meeting? North Gate. 1 hour. Come on, let's get going. I need to go home and get my stuff. I will meet you there, Naruto said before taking off towards his apartment. Upon arriving at his apartment, Naruto quickly rushed in, stored all he needed for a week days just in case the hunt took that long, and sealed it into a scroll. Upon leaving, he almost ran head first into Yugito. Oh, I'm sorry Yugi-chan, but I can't hang out today. I have a mission and it's really important, Naruto said upon seeing his girlfriend. Oh really? Well, Datsuke, what's the mission? If it's so important, you can't spend the day with me when you were supposed to have it off, Yugito said, grabbing onto Naruto's arm as they began to walk towards the North Gate. As they walked, Naruto told her about Sasuke's desertion and his mission to retrieve the rebel Uchiha. So they're sending 2 newly promoted Chunin and 3 genin against at least 4 ninja of unknown skill, Yugito said as they arrived to see Shikamaru, Kiba, Neji, and Choji all waiting for him. Yeah, that's about it, but don't worry, we will be fine. I'm not going to die, not before I become Hokage, Naruto said confidently. Okay, now Naruto is here, we can head out. Kiba, I want you in front because you're out. Tracker, I will be right behind to direct you when we find something. Naruto, I want you in the middle because of your speed and reaction time. You can send aid to where it is needed fast. Choji is up next. You're the main support for fighting, so you will be there to guard our scout Neji, who will be last in line using his Byakugan to cover us and look out for attacks, Shikamaru said as they started to head for the exit. The group headed to leave but were stopped by a crying Sakura begging Naruto and the others to bring Sasuke back to her. Wasn't that our mission in the first place? The group thought at the same time. Naruto-kun, wait, Yugito yelled out as she ran to catch up to the group. Ho, Yugi-chan, what is it? Did I forget something? Naruto asked, confused as to why she ran to catch up to them. Yes, you did. This. Yugito finished and grabbed Naruto's shoulders before smashing her lips against his, her tongue forcing its way inside his mouth before he even had a chance to respond to the kiss. Naruto was shocked to find Yugito exploring his mouth, but the world around him soon vanished and he fell into the kiss, reveling in the feeling of bliss that only Yugito could cause. Deciding that he wasn't going to let her have all the fun, he wrapped his arms around her waist and fought her back with his tongue and began tasting her teeth and the roof of her mouth. She tastes just like the shrimp ramen she had this morning, he thought, but suddenly a loud coughing noise brought the occupants of their own little world back to reality. The faces on his fellow genin were what would have been expected. Shikamaru looked bored, Choji just looked on eating his chips, Neji looked as stoic as ever, and Kiba had a perverted grin plastered all over his face. I'm sorry about that guys, I guess I just got lost in my own little world, Naruto said with a small smile. I'll say you were eating each other's faces, Kiba joked, causing the 2 blondes to blush. Yugi-chan, I really have to go, but I will be back, Naruto said, reluctantly letting her out of his embrace. You better come back, because I love you, she said, quickly giving him another kiss. I love you too, Yugi-chan, Naruto whispered into her ear as he slowly walked back into formation and left. Please be alright, Naruto-kun, you can't leave me when I just found you, the kunoichi with slitted eyes thought as she watched the young man she loved leave. That night, the group had run non-stop since they left the village and were finally having a small break. We have to be getting closer, the scent of the group is much stronger, there's 4 of them plus Sasuke. If we rest here, I say, at the speeds we were going, we can catch them well before they get out of Fire Country, Kiba informed the group. Indeed, but how strong are our opponents? This is a dangerous situation indeed. I say we keep going and try to sneak up on them during the night, Neji reasoned. That is a good idea, but we don't want to be too tired to run the next day. We will push on a few more hours then stop. It will bring us closer to them so that we can scout out and maybe get an idea of how skilled they are, Shikamaru said. The others nodded and they moved off before setting up a camp for the night several hours later. The next day. I can see the sound team but I can't see Sasuke. Wait, no, he is there but he is inside a coffin and he seems to be changing. His hair is longer and there are weird marks all over Ho's body, Neji said, shocking the others. It must have something to do with that permanent hickey that snake pedophile gave him, Naruto said. Well, they are performing some sort of ritual now. Would be the perfect time to attack, informed Neji. You're right, everybody get ready, we need to act quickly, Shikamaru said, and they readied their ambush. Unfortunately, just as they were about to attack, Kiba sneezed from a flower Naruto kicked, releasing its spores. Ah shit, Kiba said as the sound team realized they were being followed. Well, if it isn't a couple of piss weak leaf ninja, run on home you fucking pieces of shit, you can't beat us and we are not in the mood to play with you, Tayuya said. Fuck you bitch, we have to get back the bastard in that coffin and you are not going to get in our way, Kiba yelled. Enough of this, Jirobo, stop them here, we need to keep moving and we still have to carry Sasuke, a tall boy with light blue-gray hair with what looked like a puppet on his back said. Oh, why do I have to do all the work, Sakin? Jirobo said. Oh, just shut the fuck up, fat as, and do your job, Tayuya yelled, grabbing a corner of the coffin. Jirobo performed several hand signs then slammed his hand to the ground, creating a massive dome around the group of leaf ninja as the other sound ninja took Sasuke and left. What the fuck is this? I can't break out of this damn dome even when I use my Gatsuga, Kiba moaned after trying his move and finding the dome repair itself. So it repairs, huh? I could use a Rasengan, but there is no guarantee that the hole I punch through is gonna be big enough for all of us. Guess I just have to hope Shikamaru comes up with a plan, Naruto thought. After a while, Shikamaru did indeed come up with a plan, and using Choji they busted out. Choji said that he would deal with Jirobo and the others headed on. Once the group caught up to the sound team and they split up again. This time the six-armed man Kidomaru broke off from the pack after a failed attempt to henge into Jirobo. Kidomaru managed to hold Shikamaru, Kiba, Naruto and Neji with his chakra silk threads, but he taunted the trapped leaf ninja and Neji figured out how to break the strings in time to free his comrades and sent the others on their way. He would deal with Kidomaru. Naruto, Shikamaru and Kiba caught up to the two remaining Sound 4 members. They used a well-thought-out plan to have Shikamaru's Kajimane Jutsu on Tayuya to attack Sakin, and they managed to get the coffin and began to make their way back to the village. Kiba stayed behind to stall and Sakin stayed behind while Tayuya followed them. They didn't get very far when another sound ninja showed up. You were taking too long, Tayuya, the newcomer said. Kimimaro, what are you doing here right now? You shouldn't be able to move, Tayuya said. Kimimaro grabbed the coffin and jumped off towards the sound. Hey Naruto, we need to get him from that guy. You go on ahead, I will stop this girl, Shikamaru said, and Naruto jumped off to follow him. Kimimaro stopped in a field when he heard a noise coming from behind him. When he turned, he saw an angry Naruto releasing the seals on his body. You freaks have gone too far. That curse mark of the heavens is clouding Sasuke's judgment, and you offered him false hope at power, playing on the fact that he wants to kill his brother. That's pathetic and I won't let you get him, Naruto yelled, standing up and stretching. While it is true we want Sasuke, we are giving him a great honor by him joining Orochimaru. He will become Orochimaru's next vessel, the sound ninja with red markings around his eyes said. Vessel, you mean what exactly? Orochimaru is going to live inside him? Naruto asked. Well, essentially yes, Orochimaru-sama will suppress all that is Sasuke and replace him with all that is Orochimaru, leaving only the body, and once that body finally rejects him and breaks down, he will be replaced by a new one, and Orochimaru-sama will go on and live forever, Kimimaro said. Okay, I get it, he wants Sasuke's body because it has the Sharingan. Well, I guess I am just going to have to spoil your party, Naruto said before pushing off in a blur. He's fast but not fast enough to escape my Keki Genkai, thought Kimimaro. Naruto went in for a punch, but to his shock the body of his target distorted and claws of bone extended from his chest and caught the fist. Oh shit, new kind of hell is this? His body manipulates bones, the blonde thought, just managing to escape with his hand. No use using taijutsu, gotta go for ninjutsu. Well, as good a place as any to check out my new control over wind. I shouldn't need many hand signs now, if any, to use what jutsus I know, he thought, jumping back, making some distance from the sound ninja. Naruto created a shadow clone and had it throw a shuriken, then he thrust his palm out without making any hand signs. Fuden. Gale palm. The strong gust of wind hit the shuriken and caused it to turn into a blur of speed, and it hit its mark dead on his chest, but it bounced off. What? That's impossible. How did he do that? There's no way. Nothing has ever stopped that combo if it's hit, Naruto thought, stunned before he noticed a thin layer of bone covering the area where the shuriken hit. It's no use, you know you can't defeat me, and look, the transformation is complete, Kimimaro said as the coffin exploded into a cloud of smoke. Out of the smoke stood a changed Sasuke. Long dark hair spiked down his back and small markings of a cross in black were on the bridge of his nose. His eyes were no longer black, they were yellow, and the whites were the same dark gray as his hair. Sasuke, is that you? Naruto asked, but Sasuke didn't respond. He just began to head in the direction of Orochimaru. Well, I guess I am going to have to beat yours first so I can stop him then. Taking up his battle stance, Naruto performed the required hand signs and began firing compressed wind bullets at his opponent. Kimimaro was dodging but only just and didn't notice the clone of Naruto come up from behind him. Fuden. Great breakthrough, the clone called out before he blew a massive gust of wind into Kimimaro's back. The white-haired ninja flew forward before being kicked into the air. Several more clones appeared and kicked him further into the air. Uzumaki Naruto barrage, the clones called out, slamming Kimimaro into the ground before jumping back. Kimimaro got up and coughed up a small amount of blood. So you can be hurt? How well, that is reassuring, Naruto said, but Kimimaro burst forward with great speed that matched Naruto's own, and the pair began trading blows in taijutsu. Damn it, I am going nowhere and Sasuke keeps getting further and further away. What am I supposed to do? Naruto thought, but then a small smile crept on his face when he felt something move behind him. Hey, bushy brows, they let you out already, he said. Why, yes they did, but I think you should be catching Sasuke. I will deal with this guy, said the newcomer in the clearing, wearing green spandex and orange leg warmers and had eyebrows the size of large hairy caterpillars. You sure this guy is tough? He uses his bones like some sort of armor or something. Everything I have tried he has blocked somehow, Naruto said. Well, then I will just have to fight harder. Now you must leave and catch up to Sasuke. Just go, Lee said. Okay, bushy brows, but you better come back alive, Naruto said before blurring away. Well, it is a shame to see him go. He was tough, but Sasuke will deal. We have more help on the way after all, Kimimaro said. What do you mean help? Lee said. Oh, you don't have to worry about that, the white-haired ninja said as he attacked the green-clad ninja. With Naruto ran to catch up to Sasuke and eventually found him standing on the head of Madara Uchiha. Where do you think you're going? Naruto yelled, causing Sasuke to stop. So Dobi come to try and stop me? Sasuke leered. You know it. What has gotten into you, Sasuke? You so obsessed with revenge that you would just give yourself to Orochimaru. He just wants your body, Sasuke. In more ways than one, Naruto said, trying to reason with the wayward Uchiha. What would you know? You have never had anyone you love die. You never had your whole family just be gone in one night. You don't understand me at all because you have never had anyone to lose, Sasuke yelled. So be it then, I will have to take you back by force then, Naruto said. Oh, you can try, but this fight is going to be much different than the one at the hospital, Sasuke said, activating the first stage of his cure mark. The curse mark already? Well, I guess it is only right. You someone so weak that they have to run to a pedophile just so he can hold your hand and tell you you're special to use that tainted power he gave you, Naruto taunted, getting into a battle stance and took off. They clashed, the power of curse seal no longer restricted by the suppression seal with the Sharingan able to match Naruto's superior speed in straight combat. Naruto would land a punch but it would be immediately countered. It was clear that neither party would be getting out of this fight without an injury. Damn you, Naruto. Kaden great fireball jutsu, Sasuke called out. A huge mass of fire headed toward the blonde, who managed to just get out of the way before using a hand sign and firing a wind bullet at the Uchiha, hitting him in the side and sending him flying off the cliff. I probably shouldn't use my Fuden jutsu in this fight anymore unless I have a perfect opening. If I use it at the wrong time, his Kaden will explode in my face and I will be taking a short trip to the Burns ward, Naruto thought. That damn Dobi, I will kill him. Even with the curse mark he matches me, he will pay dearly for this. Damn you Naruto, Sasuke seethed. The fight continued and the two boys were destroying the valley as they exchanged blows. Sasuke, powered by the curse mark, mad his strength far higher than Naruto, and were causing far more damage when he did manage to get a hit. Sasuke knocked Naruto to the bottom of the waterfall with an axe kick and smirked as he looked down on him. You see Dobi, this is why I am leaving. With this power I am a far superior ninja than you are, and this is only the first stage of the curse mark. Why stay in Konoha when Orochimaru can offer me so much more? I will be able to have my revenge on Itachi, and this power will help me do it, and this is only the first level of the curse mark. Sasuke laughed. Man, this is insane. That Sharingan curse mark combo is a tough one. I could take either, no problem, but the performance boost he gets from that cursed seal means he can now see and counter my movements. My speed and unpredictability are bordering on useless. The only cards I have left are the Rasengan and Kyuubi's chakra, but I don't want to kill the Tem even if he is most likely looking at execution or at least a long prison sentence back in Konoha, Naruto thought, staring up at his raven-haired opponent. Sasuke ran through 3 familiar hand signs and produced a Chidori and began racing down the waterfall, picking up speed. Oh shit, he's running down the waterfall to pick up speed. I need to act fast, the blonde thought, creating a Rasengan in his hand. Chidori, Rasengan, the jutsu clashed. Both boys were suspended as they fought for dominance until a large explosion blew them both into opposite walls. Naruto got up and looked around, but Sasuke was nowhere to be seen. Fuck, where is he? Behind you Dobi, Sasuke yelled just as Naruto felt a massive chakra spike. There was Sasuke standing right behind Naruto with a Chidori ready. Naruto didn't have time to move as the red-eyed Uchiha slammed his hand through the right side of his chest. Naruto coughed up some blood but was still standing as he watched Sasuke smirking at him victoriously. See, I knew it, you were never anything but a clan less loser after all. Only an Uchiha can beat an Uchiha. Sasuke sneered and began walking away, not deactivating his curse mark. Naruto's mindscape. This is unacceptable. I will not be seen as weak, not to some little arrogant Uchiha. Kyuubi fumed, gladly forcing his chakra out as Naruto subconsciously began drawing on it in a rage at the raven-haired former Leaf Genin. The real world. Sasuke was about to start to walk out of the valley when he felt a massive chakra spike higher than he had ever felt before. What he had felt coming from Orochimaru in the forest was nothing compared to this. Turning around, he saw Naruto covered in a veil of red chakra and his wound begin healing in so fast it was visibly closing and healing without a scar. What is this power? What are you, Naruto? Are you some sort of monster? That red chakra, it's like nothing I have ever felt before. Sasuke thought as he looked at the blonde who moments ago was defeated but now was standing with nothing but a fist-sized hole on his chest at each side to show where he had been hit with the Chidori. Sasuke, it's time. I am going to take you back to Konoha even if I have to break every bone in your body, Naruto said, but it wasn't his voice, it sounded demonic. Chakra ears and a tail formed on the yokai cloak and it began swishing from side to side as Naruto's rage rose, the more powerful he became. Sasuke stammered back, unsure what to make of this new development. He decided to make the first move. Naruto took off far faster than he had been before. Sasuke just managed to get in a block. He is much faster. I can barely keep up at this rate. I am going to have to use the stage 2 curse mark. What the hell is he to be able to make me use that kind of power? At least his moves are much more predictable, Sasuke thought, but his thoughts on the predictability were soon seen to be misled as huge fist made out of chakra rushed at the raven-haired deserter who was unable to completely dodge the attack. Naruto raced forward in a rage on all fours, his yokai cloak forcing Sasuke into a full-on retreat, unable to perform any counter-attacks while the chakra fists were continuing their assault, backing Sasuke into a corner. Kami, what is he? All I can do is dodge. This power must be what Itachi was after, thought Sasuke as he dodged another. You're trapped, Tem. Now give up, Naruto roared, slamming his fist into the face of the Uchiha, sending him flying into the opposite wall, creating a large crater. Hey, so you're special? I will give you that, Sasuke said as he managed to pull himself from the wall, but unfortunately you're not as special as me. He roared as the second stage of the curse mark took over. Large masses of flesh extended from his back that looked like claws. His hair grew out and ran down his back, changing from black to have long silver highlights. His skin complexion changed from a milky white to a darker off-tan color, and his eyes remained as the Sharingan, but the whites became pitch black. They both acted at the same time, jumping at each other. Naruto's advantage in speed now gone, but he still had the advantage of his chakra arms. The problem was he needed to stay still to use them, which was proving difficult as Sasuke easily weaved around them to get into attack range, forcing Naruto to jump back. The fight wore on. Every attack one of them performed caused another scar landscape, and the fighting could be heard for miles around. "Well, let's say we finish this, hey Naruto," said Sasuke, holding his hand down and forming a Chidori. However, instead of the usual white lightning that formed, this almost looked black and silver. Naruto formed a Rasengan and the pair rushed at each other. They were about to clash when Naruto spun out of the way and kicked Sasuke to the side. "You're right, Sasuke, it is time to finish this, but I am going to show you just how outclassed you really were," Naruto said, his voice still demonic but sounded almost calm as he closed his eyes and focused. Sasuke stared in interest, then in horror, as what looked like a second tail began to form at the base of Naruto's spine, forcing him back onto all fours as it finished forming. A primal roar escaped the lips of Naruto as his hair became even more wild and black line thickened under his eyes as a byproduct of the two tails dancing behind him. Sasuke was scared. Even in his second stage of his curse mark, the power emanating off of Naruto was terrifying. "This is not good, I have to get out of here, but how?" he thought, slowly backing up. Naruto disappeared. Sasuke didn't even see him move, and before he knew it he was flying back, only to be hit from behind in with a kick as he flew into the wall next to the feet of Madara. Sasuke pulled himself shakily out of the hole in the wall and began coughing up blood. The places where he had been kicked and hit looked like burns and were eating away at his skin even in its reinforced state. Naruto looked on in mild interest at the discomfort of the Uchiha before deciding to end it, sending a chakra fist out from his body to hover above the no longer last loyal Uchiha, and he used it to slam down with all his might, forcing Sasuke to be crushed into the ground and the curse seal to disperse. The cloak slowly started to recede from Naruto, who had just regained complete control of his body. To him it had been like watching a movie. He could stop at any time and only kept it going to see the end, but he knew if it lasted much longer his consciousness would be completely gone and the fox would have free reign over his body until it ran out of things it wanted to destroy in the area. "There, it's done," Naruto panted, collapsing onto one knee before standing and walking over to Sasuke. He bent over to pick him up but was stopped by the sound of clapping. Looking over his shoulder, he saw a ninja with silver blue hair and a pair of horn-rimmed glasses smirking at him. "My, that was quite impressive, Naruto-kun, but I am afraid I can't let you take Sasuke-kun. You see, he is important to Orochimaru-sama," Kabuto sneered with a smirk on his face. "Kabuto, what are you doing here?" Naruto said, glaring at the latest unwelcome arrival. "Oh, you see, Orochimaru-sama thought you might be joining in on this little retrieval of yours and wanted some extra insurance. I guess it was justified, seeing how you would have won if I didn't show up. You must be tired. I doubt you can use that beast's chakra again so soon after using two tails so early in your development," Kabuto said, the smile never leaving his face. "You're not taking him," Naruto said, getting loosely into his stance. "Oh, aren't we the brave one? Your little cat whore isn't here to save you this time," Kabuto said, activating his chakra scalpels. Naruto pushed off at the same time as Kabuto but couldn't keep up with his fresh legs. He was just too tired and sore from fighting Sasuke and running for almost 2 full days. His first exchange ended with Naruto being hit in the ribs and coughing up a small amount of blood before staggering to his feet, swaying from exhaustion. "Well, you are persistent. Guess I will just have to put you down," Kabuto said. Naruto was being kicked around like a football, almost unable to defend himself for every hit he got, and he took 10. Kabuto was taking great joy in watching Naruto get knocked down only to refuse to stay down and get back up. "Well, you do live up to your nindo. Never back down, never. Surrender was it. But as Sasuke is awake now and I am sure he is angry, so I think it is best that we end this now," Kabuto said, looking down at Naruto, who was on his hands and knees, blood flowing from cuts coming from his mouth, eyes, forehead and arms. Naruto looked up at the crater he left Sasuke in to see him standing holding onto what looked like a broken arm, then to Kabuto, who stood triumphantly over the blonde who now had blood-soaked hair. Kabuto grabbed Naruto by the hair with one hand, lifting him up to stand although unable to support his own body weight, and began slowly punching him in the gut. Naruto looked on helplessly as Sasuke approached, an evil glint in his eye. He held out his good hand and very slowly a Chidori formed and he stalked closer to the defenseless blonde. "You think you can humiliate me like that, Dobi, and get away with it?" "I don't think so, Chidori. Sasuke screamed, thrusting his hand into the chest on the opposite side to the evidence of his last Chidori assault. His Chunin vest fell off, no longer having anything to support him, and fell to the ground. Naruto's eyes bulged from the pain and he was losing consciousness fast. The last thing he registered before he blacked out was an order from Sasuke: throw him in the river and let's get out of here. Complying with Sasuke's demand, he threw the limp body of the Jinchuriki at the base of the waterfall and watched it flow down river. Kakashi arrived at the valley the boys had battled in and looked at the destruction in awe. The only areas unharmed were the giant statues of Madara Uchiha and the first Hokage. I can smell an awful lot of blood down there, Pakken said as they began making their descent into the valley. Kakashi could still sense the tainted chakras of the curse mark and in Kyuubi's yokai. Can you tell what happened here? The silver-haired Jonin asked his dog Summons. Most of this blood is Naruto's, but I can smell a third scent here, one that didn't appear until around the end of the fight, Pakken said, causing Kakashi's eyes to widen. So Naruto had to fight two of them at once? Kakashi questioned. No, from what I can smell, the fight caused Naruto to use the fox's chakra and Sasuke to use more power in the curse mark, but Naruto was able to defeat the Uchiha by the strength of the scent. I would say Naruto was using at least 2 taels worth in his chakra cloak. That's when the third party arrived, said Pakken as he walked around following the scents and stopped at the crater where Sasuke was crushed. But I would have a hard time facing Naruto using that much of Kyuubi's chakra, and you say the third party only showed up at the end, Kakashi said, confused how the Jinchuriki could have been defeated with such ease. It seems after defeating Sasuke, Naruto regained control and forced the cloak to recede. Naruto would have been exhausted and unable to draw on that much yokai again so soon after using such high quantities. He is still a child after all, Pakken said. So he was defenseless, Kakashi said as they walked towards the spot of the first exchange between Naruto and Kabuto. Then something hit him. Pakken, do you recognize the scent? Could it have been the Akatsuki? Kakashi urgently asked, knowing that Naruto wouldn't be dead then, at least not yet. I can recall this scent. I am fairly confident it belongs to Kabuto Yakushi. The pair started fighting here, but by the looks of it, it seems more like a torture session, Pakken said as they followed a trail of blood which was getting thicker. The way the blood pools. Kabuto let Naruto try and stand before he continued his assault. This is sickening, the copy ninja thought as they continued to follow the trail that ended at the side of the river. And this is where it stops. Looks like he was thrown into the river, but it seems Sasuke woke up and left him with a parting blow, Pakken said. Kakashi at this moment noticed the Chunin vest that was on the ground, obstructed from vision by some rock that had broken off of the walls of the cliff. Sweet Kami, I can recognize those holes anywhere, and all that blood on the jacket. These were caused by a Chidori, and there are 2 of them. Not even Naruto could survive that, Kakashi thought as he leaned down and picked up the jacket, a small tear sliding down his face. Sensei, I have once again failed to protect someone, and this time I failed your only son. I am so sorry. Where is Naruto's body? He finally asked, composing himself. The trail stops in the river. They most likely threw him in there, Pakken said sadly as it started to rain. The rain will wash away the scent soon and Sasuke will be long gone by now. Come on, Pakken, we need to follow this river downstream and see if we can't find him, Kakashi said, still clinging onto the shredded Chunin vest like it was his only lifeline in a violent ocean. The pair searched for hours until they knew that the current was not strong enough to carry him any further, and the rain washed away any sense leaving the water, so if Naruto was alive he couldn't be found. Come on, Pakken, we better head back and give our report, Kakashi said, downbeat. He knew even though he had seen the 2 holes punched through the vest, he had still hoped he would be alive and sprawled out on the riverbank somewhere downstream. Several hours later at Konoha main gate. The gate guards sat and watched as the members of the retrieval team returned, all in a bad way. Only Shikamaru, Kiba, and Lee were able to walk, but even then they looked like they were dead on their feet. Choji and Neji were being carried by 2 of the Jonin that left with Kakashi to check on the group. Whoa, you guys look in a bad way, but where is Naruto? Kotetsu asked Shikamaru as he walked past, but Shikamaru didn't answer. He just followed the group on their way to the hospital. Damn, looks like they had it rough, Azumo said, looking at the group leave. Hospital. Shikamaru was waiting on a bench to find out if Choji and Neji would be okay. You still crying over here? A voice behind him called. Tamari, what are you doing here? Leave me alone, Shikamaru said, looking downbeat. Oh, I don't think so, So you screwed up and some of your team got injured. That's the life of a shinobi. Now grow up and stop being such a lazy crybaby. At least they're not dead, the Suna Kunoichi said. You know you are really troublesome, you know that, Shikamaru said, leaning back against the wall as Tsunade walked out of the operation room. They are both going to be fine. Choji has extreme chakra exhaustion and Neji has a deep wound on his side, but they will both be fine in a couple of weeks, the Hokage said, walking off to her office. Hokage Tower. Tsunade had just sat down and pulled out a bottle of sake when there was a loud knock on the door. Come in, she ordered, and the door opened to reveal a clearly downcast copy ninja. Kakashi, where is Naruto? She ordered, beginning to fear the worst. All Kakashi did was take out a sealing scroll and unseal Naruto's vest before sitting on the couch, a lifeless expression on his face. Oh Kami, what could have caused this? It looks like it has gone right through his body. Whatever jutsu this was, Tsunade said, tears openly falling from her face. She felt like she had lost it all again. Was she cursed that everyone she loved died unless they were a complete pervert? A Chidori, came Kakashi's hollow reply. It was most unfortunate that at this time Yugito had come in to check on the group that had left to return the traitorous Uchiha. Hokage-sama, I was wondering if you had any news on Naruto-kun's group, she said, walking in, but stopped when she saw the crying Tsunade and the torn jacket. Naruto-kun, no, how can this happen? Why did it have to happen to him? I had just told him I loved him. This can't be. Sasuke Uchiha, you will die by my hand, I swear it. Yugito thought as silent tears had already began to fall from her slitted eyes. She swayed on the spot before turning and running as fast as she could out of the office. Yugito ran and hid so nobody could see her cry. In the middle of a training ground, she collapsed, unable to take it anymore. She burst into uncontrollable screams of agony that she had lost the man she loved. She did not notice a pair of yellow eyes with bar-like pupils staring at her from above in the trees. Unknown location. 10 figures stood on 2 separate hands, all wearing long black cloaks with red clouds. Suddenly a large plant-like creature appeared from a nearby wall. Leader Sama, we may have a problem, the plant spoke as it opened, revealing a man with half his face black and the other white. What is it, Zetsu? Said the shadow of a tall man with metallic purple eyes with 4 rings circling a small dotted pupil. It's the Kyuubi host, the white half said. He was just killed by Sasuke Uchiha and Kabuto Yakushi, the black half finished. This caused the majority of the group to look at their fellow Uchiha. Hey, wasn't that your little brother Itachi? There's no way he could beat the Kyuubi brat. That little piece of shit even managed to outsmart us, Kisame said. He left the village to join Orochimaru, but the Kyuubi brat and several other leaf ninja went after them. That curse mark of his is strong. In its second stage he was able to match that damn blonde hit for hit even while using a tail of his cloak. Naruto Uzumaki was strong, though he was able to use 2 tails without losing control, quite impressive for one so young. Unfortunately, when he had defeated Sasuke, he let the cloak down, and that was when Kabuto showed up. The little Gaki was far too tired to defend himself, but he wouldn't give up on his mission. Kabuto made sport of him before the Uchiha ended his life and threw him in the river, both Zetsu said. Kabuto, wasn't that one of your spies? Sasori-senpai, said a man with an orange mask. Guess you should have chosen someone else to spy on Orochimaru like Tobi. Tobi is a good boy. He never would have killed a Jinchuriki we were supposed to capture, he finished. Shut up, Tobi. I gave him orders to do anything Orochimaru ordered him to. I didn't think he would be stupid enough to kill the Kyuubi vessel, Sasori said, although he was annoyed one of their targets were gone. Are you sure he is dead? Have you seen the body? The leader said. No, Leader Sama, we haven't. You told us not to attempt to capture or interact with him and to only watch. We didn't think to make sure he was dead. Then go look for him and check out Konoha for any news. If you can find him and it is safe, attempt to capture, but only if he is alone and unconscious, their leader said. Zetsu left with a bow and vanished back into the wall. The rest of the group were being told by their leader their plans had not changed, but there was one member who was not interested. He was thinking he may have made a terrible mistake. Foolish little brother. 2 days later, Tsunade was sitting in her office. The scouting party had returned empty-handed, claiming there was no trace of Naruto, so she had to call off the search. So he's gone, huh? Came a voice from the window. Jiraiya, where were you? Naruto needed you and you what? Left to write your damn perverted books and now he is dead. Tsunade spat the last words, hoping to sting the perverted toad sage. Jiraiya just sat there with his eyes closed as if contemplating what to say about his fallen student. You know, the thing about Naruto is, he was never very good at being normal, the old toad sage said. What are you talking about, Jiraiya? Spit it out. Now, Tsunade said. Her fists began shaking in rage. Well, for example, his injuries, deep cuts to the face and arms, busted lip, internal bleeding, and finally, two Chidori to his chest. A normal man would have died a lot sooner, Jiraiya said with a thoughtful expression on his face. How do you know that? And to such detail? You have the body, don't you? Where is it? Tsunade demanded. Oh, it's safe, the white-haired man said. It's what, give it to me. We need to have a funeral for him and I need to see it for myself, Tsunade ordered. No, was the sage's reply. What? The Hokage screamed, ready to pummel the old super pervert. I said no because you see, any normal man would have died much sooner in Naruto's life, but Naruto is far from a normal person, isn't he? Jiraiya said sagely. What are you talking about now? Tsunade said, but then her eyes went wide in realization. He's alive. Where is he, Jiraiya? He is a ninja of this village and he needs my authorization to be out of it, and I want him back. This village needs him, she said, the first smile she had worn since she had first seen his tattered vest. Actually, I think you will find he doesn't. You see, there was a rule passed by Sensei that allowed us as the Sannin to pick and choose our apprentice and they would be granted the same freedoms that we are given, Jiraiya said. Yes, I know that, but what does that have to do with why you want bring Naruto back to the village? Tsunade said, still confused but smiling that her little brother in all but blood was still alive. I am surprised you would have forgotten, considering how you did the same thing I am going to do for years, Jiraiya teased, happy to see his long-time crush smile again. Still not following you, the Hokage said, starting to get annoyed. I am taking Naruto out of the village with me. The same way you did with Shizune and Orochimaru did with Anko. As the apprentice of a Sannin, he has open borders to come and go from Konoha as we please. As long as we stay loyal, you can only order us to return if you can find us and have a specific reason. Now I am going to take Naruto, and when I am done with him he will be as strong as I am, if not stronger. You can try and find us if you want, but I wouldn't recommend it. After all, the only way to get there is to know the way. See you in a few years, Tsunade Heim, said Jiraiya, and he puffed out of existence. Damn it, a shadow clone. So you have taken him to the Toad's EH, what are you planning? Tsunade said so softly only she could hear. With Naruto. Warm sunlight shone down on the waking Naruto. The first thing he felt was a pain in his chest and a splitting headache. Wah, what the hell happened to me? Naruto slurred out as he began opening his eyes. Elders, his waking up, what do we do? Came a familiar voice next to his head, causing Naruto to fully open his eyes and take in his surroundings. He was in what appeared to be a small wooden hut. Outside, exotic plants the likes of which Naruto had ever seen stood tall, and giant stone statues of toads could be seen in the distance around a small waterfall of what looked like oil. Sitting up, he noticed two toads staring at him. Kichi, Tatsu, what are you doing here? What is this place? The blonde asked. This is our home, bro, Gamakichi said, whilst Gamatatsu just looked on with a smile. Your home? What do you mean? Naruto asked, looking around hoping to find more answers. He means you are in the home of the toads, Mount Myobokuzan, said a new voice from behind him. Fukusaku Jiji, how did I get here on top of a mountain? Last thing I remember, I was just hit in the chest by Sasuke Tem. And dumped in the water, Naruto asked, still confused. Ah well, you see, Naruto-chan, Jiraiya had come to see us about your training but had to stay for a few days to see the Grand Geezer Toad. On his way out, however, we saw something troubling. Your name began to fade off the summoner's stone that tells us who our current summoners were. Now the only way this is possible is if you were dying or you committed some sort of great treachery to the Toad clan, Fukusaku said, receiving a nod from Naruto in understanding. Well, Jiraiya began begging us practically in tears to bring you here and help you, so we set up the seal array and used a reverse summoning jutsu to bring you here, and I must say you were in bad shape, Fukusaku said. Well, I guess I owe you my life then, Naruto said. How can I ever repay you? You can repay us by getting stronger and making the Toad summoners even more fearsome, came the unmistakable voice of Jiraiya from the window as he jumped into the room. You bet Erosen and I will make the Toads the most revered summons ever, Naruto said, determined to make them proud. Good, because for the next few years we are going to do nothing but train, said Jiraiya. You bet. So when are we going to go back to Konoha so we can start? The blonde asked. We're not. We are going to train right here and we will start when you're all better and when I am done with you, you will be one of the strongest people alive, the Toad Sage said confidently. We're not going back. But why? What about Yugi-chan, Tsunade Bachan and all the others? They probably don't even know if I am alive, Naruto asked in a panic, thinking of what Yugito was doing right now. I took care of Tsunade Haim, but I think you should write a letter for that little kitten of yours. I don't think she would let me live if I told her I was taking you away for a few years. Jiraiya shuddered at the thought of facing an enraged Kunoichi after telling her she couldn't see her new boyfriend for around 3 years, and the thought of her being a Jinchuriki made the decision not to talk to Yugito a no-brainer. Fine, but why do I have to train here and not anywhere else? Naruto said, genuinely confused as to why he had to leave Yugito for who knows how long. Because this is the only place we can train you in all the arts you need. First, we are going to work on your sealing until you are at my level. I want you to read all of these. You are ready for the master course, and these are all the books I have ever read on sealing, Jiraiya said, taking out a scroll and placing it on his table. Then we are going to work on your taijutsu and ninjutsu. You are going to accomplish something neither the Yondaime, Kakashi, and even myself ever could, no matter how hard we tried. You are going to complete the Rasengan, Jiraiya said proudly. What do you mean complete the Rasengan? I have mastered it, the blonde said. Yes, but the Rasengan is an incomplete jutsu. The Yondaime always intended to add his element to it but could never get it to work. I think you can, Jiraiya said. Finally, the main reason we are here is senjutsu. We are going to make you a fully fledged Toad Sage. Guess I should get to work then. I can't physically train for a few days, but I can still read these books, Naruto said, opening the seal only to be covered in an avalanche of scrolls, books and handwritten notes. It was going to be a long couple of years. Good, now if you can complete all of your training I will tell you all about your parents, Jiraiya said, waiting to gauge the blonde's reaction. What, you know my parents? Why has nobody ever told me? What do you mean I have to complete the training first? They're my parents, I deserve to know, Naruto raged, excited and a little annoyed that Jiraiya would keep it from him. I know how you feel, Naruto, but I made a promise to Sarutobi-sensei that I wouldn't tell you until you were ready and strong enough to defend yourself from almost all trouble. It was supposed to be when you made Jonin, but I am making an exception. You need to finish your training on Myobokuzan and I will tell you. Just think of it as an added incentive, Jiraiya said, calming Naruto down. Alright Erosen, and I will trust you, but if you are just saying this to get me to train harder I will make you pay. And with that said, Naruto returned to his book, determined to learn everything as quickly as possible so he could finally know who his parents were. Well, it worked. He's even more serious than before, but now I feel bad. He knows I know but won't tell him, but I suppose at least he knows that I do plan on telling him, so that can't be all bad, right? The Toad Sage thought as he left the blonde to his studies. With Yugito a few hours later. The blonde female had been in the training ground crying for over a day. She was dirty and hungry, but she didn't care. The only thing that mattered to her was gone. She didn't even flinch when she felt something approaching. A small toad sat beside the crying Jinchuriki, not wanting to startle her but also wanting to get noticed. He wearily croaked, becoming louder and louder until the girl finally turned her head to look at him. Yugito gazed at the toad. It didn't look normal. Then she remembered a time she had spent with Naruto on their trip back to Konoha. Gamakichi, is that you? Yugito asked, still sniffling and wiping tears away from her eyes. Yo, I got a letter for you. Don't know what it says. I am just doing my job anyway. See ya, said Gamakichi as he placed the letter down and puffed away. Yugito slowly opened the letter and she burst into tears, although now they were tears of joy. To my beautiful Yugi-chan, I am so very sorry I couldn't return to you and have this conversation in person, but that damn Erosenin says he wants me to stay here until I am strong enough to fight off S-rank ninja. I guess you must be upset that I made you worry, but I told you before, I won't die, not until I become Hokage, and certainly not before I see you again. There are so many things I want to tell you, but I can't, like where I am, when I am coming home. But once again I am not allowed, stupid safety precautions. I just want you to know that I am alive and I love you with all my heart and always will. Yours forever, Naruto. Peace. I will send Kichi with new letters so we can keep in touch every week. Goodbye and be safe, beautiful. Yugito read and reread the letter, tears of joy still falling from her face as she slowly stood up and made her way back to the village. You better get real strong fast, the Naruto-kun. I don't want to have to wait too long to see you again. Unknown location the next day. The group of 10 appeared on the fingers of the statue again and waited for Zetsu to were not waiting long as he grew out of the ground. Zetsu, what do you have to report? The leader ordered. The Kyuubi Jinchuriki is alive, Leader Sama, however we do not know where he is. He was taken by Jiraiya of the Sannin and has not told the Hokage or anyone in the village where, Zetsu said. Very well, find him and watch now the rest of you get back to collecting funds. We need to be ready to mobilize in just over 3 years, the leader said just before his image faded from existence. The sun was beginning to set over Konoha. The various teams of shinobi were going about their business without a care in world. It had been 3 years since the disappearance of a certain blonde knucklehead and had left the village quieter than it had been for 13 years. In a clearing behind the Hokage's office, Sakura, Haruno and the Hokage were training, working on her tactical skills and taijutsu. You have definitely improved, Sakura. You are more than ready to go out into the field. I know you don't have a team at the moment, but I can put you and Kakashi into a support cell working with the anti-Akatsuki teams, Tsunade said, impressed with how much her student has grown over the last 3 years. Thank you, Tsunade-sama. It will be nice to work with Kakashi-sensei again, Sakura said, stretching for a warm down from training. Losing Sasuke-kun was a bad enough, but I haven't even seen Sai since he came and told us he was transferring off Team 7 inches. Tsunade looked at the girl. She held a bit of irritation to the way she still called Sasuke's name with the kun suffix, but as well as saddened Sakura had been left by both her teammates. Go have some fun for the rest of the day, Sakura. You deserve it. We can get you back to missions with Kakashi tomorrow. With all the work you do at the hospital along with our training here, I'm surprised you managed to find time to take the Chunin exams last time around, the Hokage said. Elsewhere in the village, Kakashi was walking down the main street with his new favorite book. The latest copy of Ika Ika was enlightening to the copy ninja, especially when he looked underneath the underneath. The book Jiraiya had written, this time in all its smutty glory, was a story of a young boy and a slightly older girl who fell in love, but they were separated after a war and could only stay together by letters until the day they were finally reunited. Kakashi liked the storyline, but what really made him smirk was names of the characters Nakuro Uzaki and Ujiriki. Needless to say, the copy ninja had finished the book several times already. Kakashi was walking, lost on the road of life, when an Anbu arrived telling him to be in the Hokage's office 5 a.m. tomorrow. She seems to be learning to tell me to come earlier, however I know she is never there before 8 feet. As Kakashi walked on, still consumed by the pages describing what could be considered highly inappropriate behavior between Nakuro and Yujiri, Kakashi's thoughts drifted to what his sensei's son was really doing now. Myobokuzan. Damn you, Erosenin. We finished our scheduled training months ago. I have learned everything you wanted me to. Hell, I can even beat you in our spars almost half the time. Why are we still here? I want to go home, Naruto called out from where he was sitting with several seal arrays he was working on in front of him spread out. Naruto had changed. 3 years of non-stop training would tend to have an effect on a person's body. Also, the fact that the toads did not know how to cut hair helped. He now stood just over 6 foot tall, slightly shorter than Jiraiya. He wore black ninja sandals along with black Anbu pants. A tight blue muscle shirt with an Uzumaki swirl on the back clung to his frame, showing off his well-defined stomach and chest. His arms were now highly toned, but not like a bodybuilder. Naruto's build was lean and athletic. He had 2 seals tattooed on each arm that looked like small demon shuriken, located on the upper bicep. They were only just visible when his shirt was on. His face had lost all his puppy fat whilst still round and exuded playfulness and warmth. It was also angular and sleek. His hair had grown, still spiky. He often trimmed the back himself so his bangs framing his face went down to his chin, and the hair was only kept out of his eyes by his hetai. Hey, what happened to Jiraiya-sensei? And here I thought I was gonna get some respect at last. There is still more you can learn, Gaki. You haven't figured out your father's time-space seals yet, have you? Jiraiya said sagely. You became Erosenin again when you used me and Yugi-chan as inspiration for your perverted stories, and why can't I do these seals in Konoha? I can't even understand half of this. The only one I have been able to figure out is the time-space absorption barrier, Naruto said, working alone with his training. Naruto had great respect and affection to the old pervert, but Naruto was not amused when he found a copy of the latest Ika Ika and saw it was based on his relationship with Yugito. Well, that's more than I was ever able to get done of those seals, And if you went back to Konoha now you wouldn't have time to work on them. Tsunade will have you on missions all the time. I bet your dad would have loved to spend time here to work on his seals, the elder Toad Sage said. That may be, but did he have to leave mom for 3 years at a time? Naruto complained. Oh, so that's what this is about. You don't care about returning to Konoha at all, you just want to see your girlfriend again. Don't worry, when we get back I am sure we can find a way for you to see her, Jiraiya teased. That's not it at all, Naruto said, the small blush giving away the lie. Fine, we can stay longer, but can we at least spar for a while? I will leave a clone to work on this. These seals are doing my head in, Naruto complained. Fine, but no Sage mode. I can't do it as well as you and it makes me look worse than Kisame, and that guy is more fish than man, Jiraiya mumbled, slightly upset. You just don't want to use it because you know I always win when we spar with Frog Kumite, Naruto said confidently. Your reserves are bigger and it lasts longer. It's not that you win, it's that you stay fully charged for longer, Jiraiya said, irritated that he hadn't beaten his student in their recent spars using Senjutsu. Whatever, Erosenin. I still can't believe you still grow that massive nose when you use it. At least you don't have webbed feet anymore, the blonde softly chuckled. As they got up and began to walk off to their favorite training area. Unknown location. It is time, Sasori. Deidara, you are to capture the Aikibi. Do not fail me, said the spectral figure with purple eyes. Yes, Leader Sama, we have a plan and will put it into action immediately, Sasori said. The Jinchuriki won't know what hit him. Yeah, Deidara said confidently. Don't be overconfident, he is a Jinchuriki and therefore dangerous. This is also a cage we are talking about, he has a whole village around him, their leader said, deadly serious. It will be fine, Leader Sama. Nothing can stand up to my art. It's a blast, yeah, Deidara exclaimed proudly. Deidara senpai is strong, I sure wouldn't want to fight that big tanuki without help, the man in the orange spiral mask said. And that's why you're not a full member of the group, Toby, you're useless, yeah, Deidara said. Ah, Deidara senpai, why do you have to be so mean? Toby cried. Deidara was about to hit Toby in response but was stopped by their leader. Enough, you two. Now Sasori, I trust you can get Deidara and yourself into your old village with little trouble. Of course I have several spies working for me in high areas of Suna's council and military, getting in or out won't be a problem, Sasori stated. Very well, you are dismissed. Kakazu, Hidan, I need you to start heading towards Kumo. Your target often travels between Kumo and Konoha as she is an emissary between the villages. You are to wait a few days after Aikibi is sealed, then act. We still need you to gather funds while we wait, so any bounty hunting you do will be acceptable. In the meantime, the leader finished before he faded from view, followed by the other remaining members. The next day, Konoha. The sun was still rising when a hawk flew into the village with a priority letter to be delivered to the decryption squad at the Hokage Tower. At that time, Tsunade was currently waiting for the arrival of one Kakashi Hatake, who could be found talking to his old teammates and sensei at the memorial stone as time passed him by. In the office were currently Sakura Haruno, Shikamaru Nara and Tamari Subaku. Ga, where is that sensei of mine? Can't he ever be on time? Sakura moaned. No use crying about it. At least with a lazy sensei like that you get time to sit back and watch the clouds. Wish I had it that easy. Having to work on the Chunin exams is way too troublesome, Shikamaru said. Are you still complaining about having to work for once, you lazy ass? It's done now, no more work, so why are you still complaining? Tamari said. Kami, you must be the second most troublesome blonde there is, the lazy Nara said. Second. Who is the first? Sakura questioned. Naruto, of course. He just up and disappears to train with Jiraiya-sama, doesn't say goodbye or anything. Who knows where or even how strong he is now? It's just way too troublesome to think about, the pineapple-haired ninja replied lazily. Yeah, I guess you're right. I wonder where he is. Have you heard anything, Tsunade-sama? Sakura asked. Nope, nothing. Only things I have seen or heard of Jiraiya or Naruto for the past 3 years are Jiraiya's letters with information from his spies and the occasional hello ba-chan from Naruto. Nothing about his training or where he is at all, and when he gets back he will pay. Tsunade said, angry that her little self-adopted son was still out of the village with no word. If you really want to know how or where he is, Yugito Ni would be the person to ask. They keep in contact through his toads. She isn't in the village at the moment anyway. She just left to return to Kumo a few days ago. At least we know Naruto's apartment is being looked after. seeing as she has been living there when in the village, Shikamaru said. Before they could continue this conversation, they were stopped by a new arrival. Yo! Came the unmistakable call of Kakashi as he walked through the door to the Hokage's office. You're late, Sakura yelled, causing the occupants of the room to wince. Tsunade had tried to stop her pupils screeching, and for the most part it worked, but the ever-tardiness of her sensei had caused a relapse. Sorry, I was walking here and I got sidetracked by this shiny object. Thinking it might be dangerous, I followed it around, but it turned out to be a balloon, Kakashi said, giving his famous eye smile and producing a shiny silver balloon out of nowhere. Wow, that is shiny. Hey, wait a second. Liar! Sakura yelled. Would you prefer? I got lost on the road of life, he said, knowing it would frustrate his student. No, she yelled in retaliation. Enough. The Hokage demanded, ending Sakura and Kakashi's small disagreement. I have called you here to tell you that once again you will be working with Sakura as Team 7. Now for your first mission, I want you to. The Hokage was unable to finish giving their order as the door swung open and a Chunin ran in waving a piece of paper. Hokage-sama, urgent letter from Suna. It's an emergency, the Chunin said frantically as he handed the letter to Tsunade before leaving. The slug Sanin analyzed the note, eyes wide as she realized how serious this was. She failed to notice, however, the small toad on the windowsill puff out of existence. Team 7, your first mission is to accompany Temari back to Suna, and then you are to aid in whatever way the recovery of the case cage Gaara, the Hokage said, causing all eyes in the room to go wide. Shikamaru, I need you to get this letter to the intelligence department and send it on to Kumo. Although I believe they would have received this already, it is important they know the Akatsuki are on the move at last, Tsunade ordered. Shikamaru bowed, took the letter and left the office. Now I suggest you leave immediately. I will try and send backup in a day or so. Dismissed, Tsunade ordered and turned to look out the window. Jiraiya, Naruto, there are you now is when we need you the most. Road to Suna later that day. The group of Kakashi, Temari and Sakura ran through the forest, jumping from branch to branch. Temari, how far away is Suna without a team? I was mostly used to fill in for other ninja the last couple of years, so I never came out this way before, Sakura said. Oh, at this speed, which is rather fast if we get a good rest each day, I would say 3 days, the pig-tailed blonde said. Oh, okay, I hope we can get to Suna in time to rescue your brother, but why would anyone want to take him anyway? I mean, he's the case cage who would start a war with both Suna and Konoha, Sakura questioned. The Akatsuki Sakura and they are not after Gaara or the case cage, they are after what he holds, Kakashi said. What he holds? What do you mean, Kakashi-sensei? The pink kid asked. But it was Temari who responded. Think back to the Chunin exams all those years ago. You saw Gaara transform into the giant tanuki, I am sure. Sakura nodded her head. How could she forget such a terrifying experience? Well, that isn't just some advanced sand manipulation technique. That was the sand spirit Sukaku, the Ikibi no Tanuki, and the first and weakest of the Biju. Temari finished with a sigh. It was sealed into Gaara before his birth by our father to turn him into a weapon for Suna. Sakura was shocked. Gaara had a creature like that sealed inside him, and it made her wonder if there were others. A question answered moments later by Kakashi. That is what the Akatsuki are after. They want the 9 Biju, and they will get them by extracting the demon from their host. These are what we call Jinchuriki, which means the power of human sacrifice. They are people who are shunned their whole lives and rarely accepted. However, they also hold back the demons they hold from destroying everything around them. They're heroes, but more often than not are treated as the thing they hold, or, like Gaara, nothing more than a weapon, Kakashi said, hoping his student wouldn't ask any more questions, knowing she was smart and that everything she had been told in the academy was that Kyuubi, the strongest of the Biju, was dead. Oh, I get it. So does Konoha have a Jinchuriki? Sakura questioned, finding the topic interesting and disturbing. Kakashi mentally cursed. Yes, we have a Jinchuriki in Konoha, but the Sandaime passed a law that states if we talk about who it is, or what they hold to anyone, it is a crime punishable by death. It was made in order to try and let the host live a normal life and make friends and be happy, which so few Jinchuriki are, often becoming missing ninja or mentally unstable from poor treatment, the copy ninja said. I feel sorry for them. They must live horrible lives if people fear and hate them like you say, Sakura said, downbeat, wondering who the poor person was in Konoha who had to deal with this burden. You know a kunoichi who used to treat me like her son once told me before a biju can be housed you must fill the vessel with love then even the loneliest Jinchuriki can live a happy life and I know that the parents of the current Konoha Jinchuriki loved him more than anything, Kakashi said thinking about Kushina and despite the burden she carried was always smiling, just like Naruto. Myobokuzan. Naruto was currently sitting on a small sheet of wood at the top of a tall mountain spike meditating when he felt his sensei approach. Hey Gaki, it's time to go get your things, it's time to go, Jiraiya said, a slight hint of urgency in his voice. What, we're going home alright? I can't wait to see Ba-chan and the others again, and then go see Yugi-chan. Oh, I hope she is in the village when we get there. I know she has been staying at my place, Naruto yelled, excited to be heading back to Konoha and unable to contain himself. You're not going to Konoha, the elder sage stated bluntly. Huh, where are we going then? The blonde questioned. Well, you are going to Suna. Gaara has been captured and I know you don't want to let them get away with that. I am going to go see Tsunade Hime and hopefully not to my death because I stole you, Jiraiya said, chuckling at the end, although was rather nervous to face his old teammate. No, why did it have to be Gaara? Why do bad things always happen to him? And Yugito told me in a letter that he had just been made cage as well. This isn't fair. How long till we can reverse summon me there? Naruto said, becoming determined to help his friend. Gamakiro is there setting up the reverse summons right now, so go get all the stuff you will need for a mission. I will take the rest of your stuff back to Konoha with me. Oh, and one more thing, there will be a team arriving from Konoha in about 2 days. Wait for them to arrive before you move out, Jiraiya said, getting a pout from the blonde. Oh come on Erosen, and I can take them. You said yourself they will send the weaker members against the weaker Biju and th. No, you will wait. I don't care even if you could take 2S ranked ninja. You will wait for backup from Konoha to arrive, then you will follow the commanding officer. Is that understood? Jiraiya said in a commanding tone, interrupting the confident Naruto. Yes sensei, Naruto said, not calling him Erosenin to show he was serious and that despite their joking he really did respect the old perv. I will go get my gear now, Naruto said, running off. When he returned he was wearing his blue shirt and black pants, but he also had on a dark red trench coat with black flames around the bottom. Hey Erosenin, which one do you think, red with black flames, blue with gold, or white and red? Naruto asked, carrying 2 other sage coats. I don't think it matters Gaki, but I would go with the red. White and blue would be too hard to see in the desert, Jiraiya joked, taking the others from the blonde. Now when you arrive you will be about 1.5 miles out from Suna, so if you get lost when you can see the place I will be awarding you my Dumbass of the Year award for a 4th year running. That award is bullshit, of course I would win it, there is no other people up here to give it to. And I still say you should have won it last year for when you got stuck in Gamabunta's pipe, Naruto joked before he disappeared. Good luck out there kids, still I think I would prefer to face 2S ranked ninja than face Tsunade, Jiraiya thought as his student vanished from view.